right. All right. Hey, hey. Buenas a todos. Welcome in. Post-match reaction. Cindy Meets World writing in saying Atleti are the box of chocolates of La Liga. Indeed, that is true. What a game. I picked a pretty good game, I think, to do the first one of these like live post-match reaction vids. A 6-goal thriller in La Liga. Atleti finally get back on the score sheet, let alone win a match. 4-2 over Espanyol. Uh where to start? I think I'm just gonna like go through my notes here and just just kind of go roughly chronologically through my notes because what I like to do during games, especially if I'm writing a piece after which I'm on takeaways duty at into the Calderon today. St. Keeks, what's going on, bud? St. Keeks, pretty amazing result today. Did you enjoy the starting 11? He asks. Well, it's a good question. Yes, I did, because it showed me that Cholo Simeone was gonna take this one a bit more seriously than the Rio game last weekend. NIB 5567, we live. Yes, we are. We're out here. But yeah, let's start there with the starting 11. And right up top, you see Alexander Sørloth starting this game. And it's like, oh my gosh. Sørloth more than anyone is the box of chocolates player, right? And it starts badly. It starts badly, guys, with the Joffrey Carreras goal, 5 minutes and 8 seconds into the game. Just I don't know what this interchange is between Hansko and Griezmann, but I think Hansko is trying to leave it for Griezmann maybe, and then Griezmann is trying to carry it. But he loses the ball. He's bundled over by Tyrese Dolan. It would have been kind of a weak foul call, like to disallow that goal. But it's a picture perfect counterattack. Like, this is the book on Espanyol. We know this about them, that they are one of the top counterattacking teams in the league, even if their results in calendar year 2026 have been BAD bad. Picture perfect counterattack. You have Dolan leading the break. And then Kike Garcia with the assist to Joffrey. Like, you see Rigetti is tucking in here, and Pubil is coming out to try to track Dolan because of the foot speed, right? Pubil is much faster than Rigetti. And believe me, we're going to talk about Matteo Felipe Luis Rigetti in just a minute, because what a game he ended up having. Wow. And then Llorente loses out in the 1v1 with Joffrey. Lil Roro 1225, what's going on? Loved Griezmann's performance today. It's like he turned back the clock with the way he linked up with everybody. Yeah. Other than that screw up on the first goal, it was a really interesting formation. I guess more directly to answer St. Keeks' comment here, I think the 3-4-3 idea was very, very interesting, and I think it really works with this personnel. So you had a defensive trio, right, of Hansko, Pubil, and Llorente, Rigetti and Giuliano, basically as your wingbacks, right? They're providing that width. Then that midfield pairing of Johnny and Baena, which was interesting, if not a little improvised, and then Lookman on the left, Griezmann on the right, kind of floating in between the forward and midfield lines, and then Sørloth up top. And it's Sørloth who gets the equalizer, with a great assist from Marcos here, 4th assist of the season for him. And it looked for a little while like Atleti were going to have no idea how to break this down. Everything was being funneled to the middle, no spaces left in behind. This is where Espanyol have and Manolo's coaching have really made the difference for them this season. That's why, despite this bad run that they've been on, they're still in the race for Europe. It was so important, and Griezmann was very important in this way as well. So important to stretch this 5-4-1, move players around, run off the ball, and then it's Sørloth who gets the goal for 1-1, all from a scuffed clearance, right? A scuffed Urco Gonzalez clearance. Kike is under pressure from Johnny. He loses it. Llorente recovers it. Sørloth does really well to hold off the defender. I can't remember who the defender was. That was his 8th goal. Later got his 9th, of course, and all of them as a starter. We saw Johnny Cardoso's best performance too, writes NIB 5567. The game didn't look too fast for him in the midfield. Yeah, really interesting game from Johnny. I didn't always like him in the quick passing game that Simeone really likes everyone to get involved in. especially in midfield, right? That kind of quick game that someone like Baena, for example, would thrive in, that we see Koke at times participate in these 1 to 2 touches, very quick passing. Johnny, I think, went from menos a más, less to more. I ended up completing 56 of his 66 passes, 28 for 37 in the opposing half, which isn't tremendous accuracy, but defensively, won all 5 of his tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 clearances, won 8 out of 10 ground duels. Monstrous, monstrous performance defensively from Johnny. And this is the Johnny that we saw at Betis, right? This is the Johnny that we were convinced to purchase, right? Elite defensive metrics. Elite. It is the on-ball polish that needs to be applied, I think, and I think he's getting there, but Johnny is more of a destroyer and Koke is more of an orchestrator. So it's really, we've seen this a couple of times in the last couple of months, but Simeone went with a Koke Johnny kind of double pivot to end the match. And I really like that because I think those two complement each other fairly well. You have Johnny, who again is elite in defensive metrics, and Koke, who as we know is just such a supreme organizer and has that additional technical quality, the organizational ability that he brings. The improvisational midfield that Simeone rolled with. I think this is kind of more or less Baena's best role right now. And you know what? Baena. I wrote a column about Baena on Into the Calderon today because, of course, I did, about how he's really struggled to live up to the billing, right? How he had, entering today, 3 goal contributions in 16 games in the league, and how the number 10 shirt on Correa casts a long shadow, you know? And lo and behold, he picks up an assist for 2-1. And this goal for 2-1, and I have a couple more notes on the end of the first half, so I'll come back to those. But the goal for 2-1, Maron, brilliant goal, beautiful goal, super fluid move on the edge of the area. Llorente starts it with the ball recovery and a carry, passes to Griezmann, then a half space between 2 defenders, and then what's absolutely key, absolutely critical to this goal, is Alexander Sørloth making a run in the channel. For the first goal, we saw what Sørloth usually does, right? Maron. We saw what Sørloth usually does, right? It's that the scuffed clearance, Llorente recovers, crosses it to him, and Sørloth holds off the defender to slot in with his left foot. This is something we don't see from Sørloth. This is why I'm so critical of Sørloth a lot of times, because he doesn't do much work off the ball, right? He doesn't make those runs into the channels. He doesn't participate in the combination, the associated of the team play. This goal was different. He makes this run into the channel, holds, waits for Griezmann to free himself on the edge of the box, the quick interplay with Baena, and then Baena plays a really classy final pass. And then Giuliano nutmegs Dimitrovic. Marko Dimitrovic, by the way, it always seems like Dimitrovic just turns into like prime Gigi Buffon against us. But his record entering today against Atleti, 3 wins, 2 draws, 7 defeats, 20 goals conceded. Another 4 on Dimitrovic's head today. Let's look at a few more comments here. Good chance to. The chat is hopping. Appreciate you guys. Love this. At the _Sava_B, Ruggieri is quite the case study. Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of Ruggieri, let's segue into the third goal, where it's Lookman from this really well-worked set piece. Abiuda Daimishra, I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm thinking kind of quickly here. I have an afternoon cup of coffee, so I'm like, it's good that even if Lookman's dribbling wasn't working, he gets to spaces and set pieces. Yeah, the third goal. This is the third goal. It's Griezmann's corner, right? Koke and Alvarez are waiting to come on at 2-1 up. You want a bit more control over the game. You want a different look. Alvarez next to Sørloth. And Koke, I thought to replace Johnny, but no, Koke comes in and Baena comes out. It's kind of similar to this move originated from a throw-in, but the goal Sørloth scored against Mallorca about a month ago from a Giuliano throw-in. It's flicked back toward Llorente, right? But Johan Mojica clears it, and then Llorente ends up firing it in for Sørloth to score. This is a really nice near post flick by Ruggieri. And Lookman unmarked diving header for 3-1. It feels weird that that's his first goal in La Liga because he's been here half a dozen games now, but his goals have been in the Champions League and in the Cup. I mean, what a signing Lookman has been. Jack McCallie 9350, appreciate you. Lookman continues to be such a great signing for us. Completely changed the way we attack and add something completely new. He does, even when he's not breaking vertically, right? Even if he's not getting into spaces behind defenders, it's his technical ability, his ball control, and his finishing. Like, look at his expected goals figures at Atalanta over the past few years. He outperformed his XG every year. That was the first of Ruggieri's 2 assists. I mean, it was a brilliant set piece, just Lookman diving and thumping home the header. The comparison, Ruggieri when Lookman is in the team versus when he's not. He was SofaScore's man of the match, by the way, Ruggieri. Crazy. In all seriousness, I really do love this for Ruggieri. You can see like the steady growth. I mean, Simeone has not really had a choice in terms of what to do at left back because the alternative is Hansko, right? So Ruggieri has been a good beneficiary of this. He's been fortunate to have this run of games kind of unchallenged, roughly unchallenged as a starter. 2 assists from 0.82 expected, 3 key passes, completed 89% of his passes in total. 6 recoveries, won 3 of his 5 ground duels, 2 out of 4 aerial duels won. Dribbled past only once. And that's a tough matchup that he had on his side. Tyrese Dolan is really freaking fast. So that was kind of a difficult matchup, but I really do like the growth that I'm seeing in Ruggieri. It's slow and steady, and he looks a bit awkward at times. But he almost picked up a second assist with his through ball for Sørloth at 3-1, right? And Sørloth holds off 2 defenders, smacks it off the post. Who is this guy? Who are these guys? Sørloth is 1v2. He nearly puts in this long ball. And then at the other end, like almost immediately, Oblak and Sørloth have the miscommunication, leads to a shot off the bar. And then a few minutes after that, Ruggieri crosses right onto Sørloth's head, nestles it in off the post, just kind of kisses us off the post. Alexander Sørloth now, guys, has more goals for Atleti than Luis Suarez did. Luis Suarez, who gave us a league, 34 goals in 5,269 minutes, one every 155 minutes. Sørloth now has 36 goals in La Liga in 4,141 minutes. That's 1 goal every 115 minutes for all Alexander Sørloth, for big Alex Sørloth. And say what you will about him. I've said a lot of things about him, not all of them flattering or positive, but he gets goals. He gets his goals. It's a byproduct of him being on the pitch, right? You're going to have to get him the ball. I mean, I said it after the Bruges game, right? If you force feed him the ball a bunch of times, eventually one's going to go in. But what was different about today's performance is that Sørloth did a lot of this work himself. Like, Sørloth took it on himself to be more of a team player, to combine more. And I really like that from him. Really like that from him. For 4-2, I really didn't care for the 4-2 goal. This was right after it, almost a sliding doors moment. It was almost 5-1 when Sørloth tees up Almada. But the goal for 4-2 from a corner, second phase of a corner, I don't think Oblak really saw this one. It's another goal that comes in at his near post, which is a theme that I really don't like. Oblak letting in goals at his near post. From Edu Exposito this time, who genuinely has had a really good year at Espanyol. John Jacob Urbanik, appreciate you. Oblak should have saved the second goal. Yeah, although I need to see another angle of it. I question how much of it he really saw. I mean, positionally at his near post, generally, I think that's one of those that needs to be saved. A little bit more on Sørloth. This was his best game since he put 4 past La Real in May. Just the pressing, the strength, the combination play, his movement off the ball. Of course, the heading ability. When he puts it all together, he's just so impactful. It's oh, my mistake. Sørloth was SofaScore's man of the match, not Ruggetti. Their ratings were very close though. So my mistake on that one. But yeah, when Sørloth is fully engaged and fully locked in like this, he's tough to stop. I mean, he has the size and the strength to bully defenders. We just don't see this consistently and frequently enough. Manas Venrena 351. Hello, hello. What a beautiful day. Alp Atleti. It is a beautiful day every time our Colchoneros win, folks. Isn't it? Top goal scorers for Atleti this season. Alvarez on 13 in all competitions, 1 goal every 197 minutes. Griezmann on 12 goals, 1 every 129 minutes. Sørloth on 12 goals, 1 every 153 minutes. So the stat about Sørloth scoring 1 goal every 150 minutes, that's from Fran Martinez at LaLiga and Directo on Twitter. This one is from Pedrito Martin, who works in Spanish radio, Pedrito Numeros on Twitter. So you got 3 guys and a dozen goals now. How would you rate Hansko in this game? I think he was a little bit worse today. Another question from John Jacob Orbanik. I thought Hansko was okay. I think Pubil was the obvious standout in defense, and I'm going to get to him. Hansko today, 6 clearances, 4 recoveries, 2 out of 4 aerial duels, 1 foul. I think I said this on the pod with Ricky and Hert on Thursday, but I like Hansko more in an attacking phase than I do in a pure defensive low block phase when Atleti entered low block mode, mid block mode. I think what Hansko offers you in possession, he gets that shot off at the very end of the game, which is Atleti were really styling. Atleti were really feeling themselves in the second half, and I want to circle back to that when I'm done with Hansko here. I thought Hansko had a really good first half. I think he misplaced only 1 or 2 passes. I have the figures right here. Yeah, he was 51 of 53 in the first half. And it was the first half where Atleti had 68% of the ball, attempted 70 passes in the final third, 17 box touches to 3. I mean, Atleti were dominant. Just you let in that goal on the counter, which is a really well-worked counter again. And then you score very early in the second half. Giuliano's first league goal in October, since October, rather. Yeah, really good to see Giuliano scoring again, especially since he was kind of put through the ringer in Belgium in midweek. Not really helped much by Molina being his partner on the right, but really good game for Giuliano to get back among the scorers. The guy, the one other guy beyond Sørloth and Ruggetti that I really want to talk to you about is Marc Pubil. I love this guy, man. Oh, he makes me so happy. I mean, how long has it been since we had a defender like Mark here? In the first half alone, he attempted 58 out of 66 passes. And with this, I mentioned earlier how the midfield was kind of improvised, right? Because you have the profiles here or the players are Johnny, Baena, and Griezmann, roughly. Tim Rowe, 4-4-4-1. Baena created 5 chances today. Yes, he did. Baena had a great game. I was a little disappointed that he only played 60 minutes. But Pubil was basically stepping in and building these moves, right? He was stepping into midfield and building these moves because Baena's not really a CM. Griezmann's not really a CM, but they've both been kind of playing there with Barrios unavailable, Koke benched, Roger Mendoza suspended, Obed Vargas not playing. Not really a factor in Simeone's plans right now. And Johnny is more of a destroyer than an organizer. But again, he went from less to more, right? And I think in the second half, we saw him play a bit more on the front foot, a bit more confident in terms of playing those first-time passes forward. That really, when Espanyol started to attack more at 1-2 and 1-3 down, that's when Johnny was really able to shine on the ball and shine in possession. Marc Pubil's stats today are crazy. He ended up completing 86 of his 98 passes, 3 out of 8 long passes. That verticality and the security he was offering in the first half like, it feels so nice. It just feels so nice. Like, I posted this on Twitter, but he has all the makings of a player, not just a defender, a player who is going to go to the World Cup with Spain. 13 clearances for him today as well. 6 out of 7 aerial duels won. He's still tracking at, like, better than 80% aerial duels won in La Liga this season. Crazy. All right, let's look at a few more comments here. Madison Reina 351. I want to see a midfield of Cardoso and Barrios as soon as he comes back. Yeah, that'd be great. If Johnny keeps growing like this, yeah, that'd be great. Barrios, I hope he comes back as soon as possible, right? I think midweek might be a little tough. I mean, I know he's back in individual training, but to come back Tuesday night, I think it'll be a little tough for him. The main goal beyond that is for him to play in the Copa del Rey semifinal second leg. But yeah, like a midfield of Johnny and Barrios, that midfield two. Ideally, you want a third player there. What if that third player is Baena? If you stick with this 4-3-3/3-4-3 idea that Simeone has had since Lookman's arrival, I mean, I want to see it though. This is why we signed Johnny Cardoso, right? To have a pure five, to have a pure destroying number five who can do a little bit of organization, who can recycle the ball to more creative players like Baena and Barrios. And that's not like a slam on Johnny or disrespecting Johnny or anything, but that is his role. That's what he was so good at Betis. Pubil, OMG, I hope De La Fuente is looking. Yeah, me too, brother. But we know De La Fuente doesn't really watch Atleti, does he? Uh, Adnan Aller Wiley writes in, the team showed character coming back from a 1-goal deficit, then leading. Haven't seen that since the 3-2 against Rayo. Yeah, it's a good point. Um, this was definitely a character win, and you could see the vibe shift at 2-1 up. You could see how Atleti were much more confident and really playing with some fire and with some sass and with some pizzazz, you know? Um, if at 0-1 down, you lost that game, match day 1 to Espanyol. One of my hot takes about Atleti this year is that if we win that game against Espanyol, if that Alvarez shot off the post from that beautiful team play goes in and we go up 2-0 in that game, we are within 3 points of the league. That's my Atleti hot take for this season, is that Espanyol game was kind of a before and after, because and Cardoso doesn't leave that game injured. Baena leaves that game injured. And then, like, 10 days later, both Almada and Cardoso get hurt. And it starts this chain reaction that we've been dealing with the entire season. Literally the entire season. But no, it's a great character win. And there have been questions about the character and the resolve of this Atleti team. Ramadan Sørloth is a different beast. Listen, maybe there's something to it. Listen, maybe there is something to that. Oh man. CR-E7 EC7XP asked, "What do you think of the young midfielders not getting time today?" I mean, that's basically Obed, right? Because Rodri was suspended. I mean, the situation with Obed is he's developing. He's really young, and he's making the transition from MLS in the middle of the European season. MLS just started today, so he left MLS 3 weeks before the season started. I mean, Obed and Mendoza are both following a track of these are young developing midfielders. Like, they're not players who you are expecting to provide immediate performance. I mean, it is what it is, right? If you can't prize someone like Ederson out of Atalanta at the end of the window, which was Atleti's idea and will be the idea again in the summer when he has a year left on his contract. If you can't do that, then they had to do something, right? Between Roger Mendoza and Obed Vargas, you're replacing Conor Gallagher. I don't necessarily think we're at a point yet where we can say, oh, Simeone doesn't like Vargas. Vargas has a lot of learning to do. He has some adaptation to do. Moving to Spain, moving to La Liga, moving to Europe in the middle of the season, and it was kind of an unexpected move at the end of the window. Um, so I mean, I don't know how much of Vargas we're going to see, honestly, and that's why I was a little surprised when he stayed and wasn't loaned out to like a Getafe or like a Celta Vigo at the end of the window because I wasn't sure how much playing time he was going to get. That being said, Javier Aguirre, who is now the Mexico national team coach, did say I think yesterday that since Vargas has moved to Atletico, now he has to consider him even more for Mexico's World Cup squad. Great. If nothing else, it's given Vargas like some enhanced visibility. Mm. Let's go back through a few of these comments here. Muhammad Ali, double V6RT. Any hope for UCL this season? Well, I mean, part of me wants to say partido a partido, right? But we know that we're kind of off that track right now, especially lately with how bumpy the form has been in La Liga. This was a get right win against an Espanyol team that's the hope, right? That this was a get right game. Espanyol have been playing really poorly in 2026 after that hot start to the season. You're at home. The recent results have been really poor in La Liga, and then the midweek Champions League game that opened up a whole other can of worms with how poor the team was defensively. I mean, a little bit better today. Like Atleti had 2.89 xG, I think was the figure. Yeah, 2.89 to 1.06 for Espanyol and better than 60% of the ball. Just one big chance conceded. This was a get right game. Club Brugge at home on Tuesday. That early kickoff time is kind of weird. You're hoping for Ricky said like it would be like a 60-40 split. Atleti would be like 60% favored to 40% for Club Brugge. That might be right. Maybe 55-45, something like that. But Atleti at home, you're playing for like half of your season here, right? Because it's so important to the club financially to get to the last 16 of the Champions League. And not getting to the last 16 would be a fracaso, right? That would be kind of a disaster. So I I'm a little more optimistic after this performance that we can get past Bruges. As good as Club Bruges were in that first leg, and they will propose a lot more problems on Tuesday, I do think Atleti will find a way through. And then after that, you're facing either Liverpool or Spurs. Obviously, you want Spurs. Obviously, I think I want Spurs in the round of 16. Although Liverpool wouldn't be such a bad matchup either, given how Liverpool season has kind of been like this. And I think we owe them one after what happened at Anfield in September. So either one of those opponents, possibly in the last 16, that's a bit more favorable for Atleti than some of the other draws that we could see. So if you get to the quarterfinals, depending on the draw, if you get to the quarterfinals, you're kind of playing with house money once you get past the quarterfinals. I think our squad this year is not quite good enough to have and hold huge hopes of getting past the last eight. And I'm trying to be as nice and diplomatic about that as I can because no one wants to win the Champions League more than me. Okay. I just don't think we are that much better in terms of the ceiling than like the quarterfinals. I mean, I I wouldn't necessarily mind Liverpool either, Adnan. Liverpool are kind of a mess. And kind of a mess. At the underscore Sava underscore B, Atleti Spurs would be hilariously stressful. My God, yes, it would. Just two teams who kind of have a similar legacy or like a similar reputation among football fans. So yeah, it'd somehow be really stressful, even though Spurs are. It would be a meeting with Connor Gallagher, our old pal Connor. Um, let's see. I'm just scrolling back through the chat here to see if there's anything else that I might have missed or that kind of stands out to me. Does Baena work as a midfielder at NIB5567? I'm torn. Yes and no. I mean, this is I kind of wrote about this at Into the Calderon today. Like part of the reason Baena has been struggling is that lack of a fixed position, which is partially by design. That's where he shined at Villarreal. He had this free inverting role, like originating from left midfield and then coming in. Like look at his heat map from the last couple of years. Like how much red there is dotted in that space in that like half space, like between the touch line. Well, it's more than a half space, right? That space between the left touch line and just inverting closer and closer toward the penalty arc. What has been different for Baena here is that the structure hasn't really supported him being him. Like at Villarreal, he had, Gaye and Parejo and Comesaña, all players who are fairly good ball winners, especially those last two. And Parejo, we know how good a passer Parejo is. Comesaña is good too. But those guys can recover and recycle the ball at a pretty high rate. And Johnny Cardoso was supposed to be doing that for Baena, but Johnny's been hurt for 2/3 of the year. So Baena has had to improvise even more than usual. And when he loses the ball, how many times did he lose the ball today? Let me see, just because I'm talking about him. And I did quite like his performance. He created 5 chances, 1 big chance created. Let's see. Baena lost possession 9 times in 61 minutes. He lost possession 11 times in under an hour against Rayo last weekend. And like when Baena loses the ball once every 5 minutes, it is harder to withstand that when you don't have players who can recover and recycle the ball and just get it back to him and allow him to keep driving it toward goal. The structure hasn't really supported him doing that here. So if Johnny stays healthy, listen, we might be cooking with some gas here with Baena. And that best role might be as an interior in a 4-3-3. I don't see him as like a CM who like a Baena Barrios pair. I don't really see that. I see him as an interior. Like I said this before, but I think the club's intention is for him to be the next Griezmann. And you can see technical similarities with the two of them. Baena is more freewheeling than Griezmann ever has been. Baena is kind of a demon. Like watch some of his tape at Villarreal, the chances he created at Villarreal. He's a demon. And we just haven't seen enough of that at Atleti. Tim Rowe 4441 off topic here. What's your opinion on Omar Janet's move? I hated it. For $2 million, they sold him to Ineos, and he's now balling out in Switzerland. 2 million and like a buyback, not a buyback clause, like a future percentage clause or something. Like, I like that this is off topic because it gives me a chance to talk about one of my favorite Atleti pet peeves, which is the academy and the neglect of the academy over the years. And how I think the squad building under Mateo Alemany and Apollo is going to be different. Like I got a couple more like comments about this. Like, how would you complete the squad in the summer? If Julian leaves this summer, who would you go for with that money? Irrespective of Julian's current status, which reportedly he's considering a contract offer from the club. Irrespective of that, what I think the team building is going to look like from now on, it will be different. Instead of opting for quantity over quality, right? Let's say you have a 175 million budget. Instead of spreading that over 7 or 8 players who on average cost 20 million, and some of them turn out really well, the rest of them don't. How about you just buy 4 or 5 stars, like high quality starters, and you fill out the squad with Atlético Madrileño players, call-ups from Madrileño, call-ups from the juvenil sides. Because Atleti do have some genuinely exciting prospects playing in the lower levels. Madrileño have not been in very good form lately. They lost again today, in fact, 2-1 to Nastic at home after going ahead in the first half. But Javi Bonyar, who has been playing really well at right back for Madrileño the past couple of years, still isn't in the first team. That's something that I think has to change in future squads. So there has to be more reliance on the academy. There have to be more resources poured into the academy. And they have to be given actual first team pathways. A player like Omar Janet, who is 6'2" and 2-footed and had a pretty good goal scoring record at Madrileño. That's a player who needs to be given a first team pathway and didn't have a clear first team pathway. Okay, like when I say star players, I don't necessarily mean like you're not spending, you're not going to buy four dudes for 100 million, right? If the key here is always amortization, right? Because Atleti can buy a player for 40 million, but they sign him to a 6-year contract or something. So you amortize the transfer over a period of 6 years, right? The key is we need to stop worrying about that. The key is with Apollo and this capital increase that is expected to be rubber stamped in the next few weeks. The club has called one of those extraordinary meetings the week of March 12th. Ruben Aria reported this yesterday, but they've called an EGM for the second week of March. So they're going to rubber stamp that capital increase, and that will be Apollo's entry, like official entry into the club. And again, there is still a lot we don't know about what Apollo and LMI specifically are planning, but I think this is generally what we might be looking at. It's exciting. Madison Reina 351. Now the real question is, do we go back to Alvarez and Griezmann as forwards, or do we go Sørloth in for one of them against Bruges? That's a great question. Who starts in midfield against Bruges? CR-E7 EC7XP writes. Well, with Sørloth playing this well today, do you keep him in for Tuesday? Does Simeone ride the hot hand as he was doing with Sørloth before his head injury against Levante? That wasn't meant to be a dramatic pause. I really wanted a sip of my coffee. So, yeah, I think he probably is going to start Sørloth now. I think we could see, we might see Griezmann go back to the bench if Sørloth starts. So Sørloth, well, I don't know, because Sørloth, Alvarez, Lookman, Giuliano, Griezmann. How do you fit in all five of those players? You don't. One of them has to be on the bench. And like, do you put Alvarez in that kind of interior role that Griezmann has been playing in? I don't think you do. I think it's trending pretty well for Sørloth to start on Tuesday. And he did play with some venom on Wednesday at Jan Breidelstadion. Hit the post, had a couple other 1v1s that he spurned. I think given this performance and given a somewhat inspired cameo on Wednesday, I think you kind of have to start him, don't you? And then what do you do with Griezmann? What do you do with Baena? Do you put Llorente back into midfield? I don't think you do. What if it's Oblak in goal, Llorente at right back, Pubil, Hansko, Ruggetti? So the same defense we saw today. Koke, Baena, Julian, and then Lookman and Giuliano either side of Sørloth. If you don't start Sørloth, you start Alvarez, and then you slide Baena, or who did I say? Koke and Baena together, and then Griezmann would drop in as an interior. But given that Sørloth looked really, really good today and was impactful and was a way to bypass that Bruges press and that demonic counter press on Wednesday, I think you have to start him. I think he has a lot of momentum to start now, given these back-to-back performances. John Jacob Urbanic, what is your take on Apollo? Aren't you afraid that it will be worse? No, I'm cautiously optimistic. There is a sense of the unknown here. And I've been thinking about this obviously for a few months now. Just the anticipation, the anxiety. There is a school of thought that says better the devil you know than the one you don't. Miguel Angel Gil and Enrique Cerezo, we don't like them. No one likes them, but their behavior is predictable, especially when it comes to sports planning. but the marketability of the club, the economic growth of the club, and this is crucial, the sporting growth under Diego Pablo Simeone, that's allowed for the entry of just an enormously wealthy backer. Like, beyond Apollo coming in, I'm encouraged by the fact that Matteo Alemany is a really competent sporting director. Did he have a great January window? Yeah. He got Lookman, and Lookman looks amazing. Roger Mendoza, I think, could be a very important player for us in the next year or so. Obed Vargas for like 3 million euros is worth a punt for sure. And that is one way, honestly, that you fill the gap, right? A player who is a declared, confessed masochist like the rest of us who loves Atleti, right? That passion, like that passion and desire and love for Atleti, why not try to have him complete the squad? Why not? Your top 2 or 3 targets don't join. All this could have been done sooner with LMI. But the main point is, I think LMI is a very competent sporting director. Like the Barcelona team that he helped build, the summer of the Palancas, they're still winning. Like, I do think they're going to end up winning the league this year, another league title for them. So I'm eagerly awaiting the future. I'm even anxiously awaiting the future and seeing what comes of it. See, I would really like to scroll up. There we go. See if there's anything else that I want to talk about here. Choo Choo 019. What's up? Appreciate you. I think Atleti is so much better with a reference point like that Sørloth gives them. That's something that Julian can't, unfortunately. I mean, this has been a constant debate throughout the year. I mean, Alvarez and Sørloth are just so different, and I don't think they coexist very well together. I mean, it's like I said, when Sørloth plays like this, yes, this is the kind of 9 that Atletico have to have. But the way the team has been, the way that Simeone has wanted to play more than the team has been built, right? With quick combinations, 1-2s, those automatisms from midfield into attacking areas, into the box. Alvarez is ideal for that as your number 9. And you signed Alvarez with the express goal of having him score a bunch of goals. He wanted to be the main man. He wanted to get more playing time than he received at City. Those were his reasons for joining. But we know Alvarez has been in a form funk for a while now. And Sørloth has had opportunities since Bayana's injury in December. That was when Sørloth more or less came back into the 11 on a regular basis, right? When Bayana got hurt against Barca. And I mean, he's up to 9 goals in the league now. Our top scorer could be our top scorer in the league for the second year in a row, despite my not liking how he plays generally. But he was great today. Gotta give him credit. What else do I have from my friends here in the chat? Cindy Meets World. UCL seems an uphill battle, but hope springs eternal. I love that. Hope does spring eternal. It's free to dream. We all want the Champions League. You know, the Champions League is the dream and the obsession, and we're hosting the final next year. That's one where we're going to see how much financial muscle we're bringing in and what kind of players Alemany is going to sign. Can you build a team that gets you to the final next year when you're hosting it? If Julian leaves this summer, who would you go for with that money? Osimhen. I would sign Victor Osimhen. Let's be real. Osimhen and Lookman at Atleti. The entire country of Nigeria supporting us. We can't lose. The power of the Super Eagles, man. No, Osimhen would be a perfect 9 for us. Can you imagine like Osimhen, Julian, and Lookman all cooking together? But I know that the exit of one necessitates, the signing of the other. The signing of one can't really happen without the departure of the other, or so we think. I mean, Osimhen would be a wonderful player here. That's the one that immediately comes to mind, but I'll have more of that in the weeks and the months ahead. Let's see what else I can talk about from this game. Um, John Oblak not really currying much favor in the Oblak Musso debate. First goal wasn't really down to him. That was down to Llorente kind of losing that individual battle with Joffrey. But the second goal coming in at his near post, nah, don't care for that. And I stick with the idea that the team does play better with Musso, a little bit better with Musso in goal as opposed to Oblak. Mohamed Yassir 672, what's going on? Appreciate you. Should we get Cuti Romero and have Pubil as a right back or a midfielder of starting caliber like Ederson in parentheses? Yes, I still want Cuti Romero. Like, kill me if you must. Okay, I still want Cuti Romero. I know there are that potential signing would be littered with problems, right? The cost, the age, the salary, Cuti's injury record, but he's so built for Simeone's Atleti. He needs to be here. He just needs to play here, and he's also happens to be one of on form and fitness one of the best defenders in the world. Like, he allows you to play further up the pitch with his passing ability, and he also is an absolute demon out of possession in terms of box defending in a low to mid block, as well as allowing you to play higher up the pitch, have a higher line because of his passing. I mean, if Romero is available for a reasonable price, if you can build a defensive core with Pubil, Hansko, and Cuti Romero, wow. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. But it's interesting because Pubil has been so freaking good as a center back. And again, today, I thought personally that he was way better today than he was against Bruges in midweek. Do you switch to a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 like more or less permanently? Or do you just move Pubil to right back and just call it? I think Pubil has earned the right to stay as a center back, to stay in central defense. I think he's earned that. He's demonstrated that he is a very high level player there. The best young defender we've had at the club since Lucas. And that was a long time ago. At this point. So it's interesting, but yeah, the defense is going to be an interesting one because I think there will be a bunch of departures there. I still think Jimenez is going to leave this summer. Lenormand's on thin ice. Lenglet, see, the less we say about Lenglet, the better. St. Keeks, personally, I think we should promote Boneyard and Sal Molina. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Molina's contract is down to its last year. He now has an EU passport. This just makes it easy to sell him. You know, and I'm at a point with Molina where I just feel bad for him. You know, just the lack of confidence that he demonstrates, just the mistakes that he makes. I mean, I'm just at a point with Nawel where it's like, dude, enough. It's enough. You know, of course, Cholo couldn't resist giving him like 10 minutes today. Of course he couldn't. I would be even happier about this victory if we weren't 15 points behind Real Madrid and La Liga. I mean, there is a school of thought that says with the level that Madrid and Barcelona have been at for good chunks of this season, there's a little bit of bottling going on here, but sorry, we're 12 points behind them now, not 15. We were 15, now we're 12. Level on points with Villarreal, and we're both 10 points behind Barca. Great. And Villarreal have the Valencian derby. The _7_B says Molina to Osasuna would slap though. Osasuna with Galan and Molina. Have you guys been watching Galan at Osasuna, by the way? He's been incredible there. Another really good game against Madrid today. Like, you put Molina, you put Galan at any team that's like outside of the top 6, top 5. Oh my God, he cooks. Like, remember how good he was at Huesca and Celta? Even at half a season at La Real, he's that good again at Osasuna. He's been unreal at Osasuna. And that's like another 500,000 euros that's going to be coming into the club as part of that deal with Osasuna. You sell him for 500K. He signs a contract to the end of the season. Every season he's under contract and Osasuna stay in the league, another 500K. Now, granted, it's not as good as selling him to Forest for 10 million, which was supposed to happen at the end of the summer window, but you know. Jorge Mostaza 5251, Oshman for Griezmann and Ederson for Koke next season would be great. As much as I don't want Koke to leave, I mean, it will be very interesting how this kind of squad turnover is handled though. Because you can make a case that I know we're talking way past the Espanyol game at this point. I've been going for 50 minutes. You can make a case that like the entire leadership structure could go. I'm not talking about Simeone right now, but it is possible that Simeone could decide to leave at the end of the season. But Koke, Griezmann, Jimenez, Oblak, like all of your captains. Imagine if we had won half the matches we drew this season. Yeah. Fucking injuries. There's another question I wanted to ask. Who's your favorite? I wanted to answer rather. Who's your favorite La Cantera player at the moment? There are a few that I like. I really like Miguel Kubo. I really like Danny Martinez, left-footed defender, both playing for Madrileño. I would say those two. Sergio Esteban as well. He's playing for Atleti C. Taufik, who we saw in preseason a little bit, is still very young. Probably won't be playing at Madrileño until next season. But I really want to see these kids get chances. It's an easy and cheap way, and potentially you have a lot of potential in these players. It's potentially a very fruitful and profitable way to complete the squad by giving Madrileño kids a chance. It's not always going to be you sign Saul, for example, from Real Madrid because they bullied him out of La Fabrica. You're not going to be able to pick up a gem like Pablo Barrios off of Real Madrid's scrap heap. You have to pour resources into the Cantera. You have to develop players who can play in La Liga. I want to talk about Carlos Romero from Espanyol, the Espanyol left back, because he's been linked with us in recent months. This was a really good prueba for him, a really good test for him. And he didn't really pass it with flying colors, I would say. 1 out of 4 ground duels won. 15 possession losses. Yikes. Dribbled past twice. Giuliano and Llorente kind of put the clamps on him. I mean, I still like Carlos Romero. That being said, I think he's been probably the best left back in Primera this year. I think it's a difficult deal, though, with Romero. He has a 45 million euro release clause, and Villarreal, I don't think have any plans to sell him. If you make a good enough offer, listen, they would sell. But they're letting Pedraza go to Lazio because they're keeping that space warm for Romero next season. I think I said this a couple of months ago, but the guy I really want at left back is Marc Cucurella. God, Cucurella and this team would go nuts. Grimaldo would also be someone I would like. But the way Ruggieri is playing, just to bring it back to the Espanyol game, I mean, ideally you want Ruggieri to keep growing. Like ideally you want Ruggieri to continue adapting and continue to demonstrate that he can be a starter here. He's 23. He's still pretty young. You can't give up on a young player like that. It's not one size fits all, right? If a player doesn't fit within the first 6 months, you got to trash him. It's not always that simple. Speed Cops 1903, we could have gotten Cucurella for 15 million from Getafe. Yeah, we could have. This is Miguel Angel Gil's management, you guys. This is what I keep saying. This is what I keep saying, man. Why would we sell 24-year-old Julian only for 200 million and if it's not Barca? Oh, I'm not saying we should. I mean, I don't want to sell Alvarez, um, despite some of the difficulties he's been having, and I didn't really notice him much today. Just 11 touches for him in half an hour, 3 possession losses, 6 ball carries, attempted only 9 passes, didn't attempt a single shot. I mean, there have been a few performances like this from Alvarez, as we know, in recent months. But he did score in midweek, that penalty. And I mean, this was a game where you Simeone, I think, did a really good job in terms of blending who's going to rest versus, okay, we haven't scored in 3 league games, and we we really we really not only need to score, we need to win. Okay, we need to win, especially after the embarrassment of the Rayo game last week, and we need to win. So I think Simeone did a really good job of blending those two needs. Alvarez comes in for half an hour. I mean, the game at 3-1 is mostly in hand, right? Espanyol made a push. They never really got close to making it 4-3, though. The goal for 4-2 was annoying. That's a very annoying goal to concede, but the game was in hand by that point. Like, for the most part, the game was in hand. So you can't draw that many conclusions from this Alvarez performance, but you know, this whole thing with Alvarez to Barcelona is just a destabilization campaign. We all know what it is, right? Like the Sava B, we talking about selling Alvarez, but quiet on Sørloth. You said it, not me. And I'm saying this as someone who greatly enjoyed this Sørloth performance. Like, why doesn't Sørloth do this more often? It makes me crazy. Like, why doesn't he do this more often? Because he can. He can be this dominant in the air. He has a sweet left foot. He can make these off-ball runs. Like, you compare how frequently Morata got caught offside to how frequently Sørloth gets caught offside. There is no comparison. Like, we just need to see Sørloth this engaged and this motivated more. All right, folks, we are coming up on an hour here. I can't believe it. It's flown by. It's gone by so fast. Um, just to wrap it up, it's good to see Atleti win. You know, this game, this is the rebeldia, the rebellion that Simeone talks about. You know, you have some really good things happen today. Johnny Cardoso plays all 90 minutes and looks pretty good. You know, had a very good second half, I think. Alex Baena gets an assist, just hit incredibly, his first assist since September. Matteo Roggetti 2 assists. Ademola Lookman, his first goal in La Liga. A lot of really good things happened today. 3 points in the bag. You win at home. Hopefully you generate a bit of momentum for the second leg against Bruges on Tuesday, where you're playing for so much of your season, trying to progress in the Champions League, which is just a must for this team and this club. Good stuff, guys. You know, it's as we bring this first post-match reaction video to a close. Great victory today, as Jorge Mostaza 5251 writes. The match we should expect from our players. Yeah, it's reasonable, man. It's been such a topsy-turvy and inconsistent roller coaster of a season. We should expect more, and we should expect this stuff. You know, a great win for our Atleti, for our Rojiblancos. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this first post-match live. I think that this was a good one. This was a success. Appreciate you all. Appreciate you, chat. And I will be back with you very soon. Alpa Atleti. Adios.